This is an insult to the Galactic Council. Ambassador Vrekk's mandibles clicked sharply, his four eyes narrowing at the steaming plates set before him. The golden brown wings glistened, their red sauce pooling at the edges like molten lava. Across the table, Captain Jonas Reeves smirked. "Oh, come on, Ambassador. Don't judge until you taste. These are Buffalo Blaze hot wings, humanity's finest." The council chamber aboard the massive diplomatic flagship, Vrekk Prime, had never seen such a bizarre negotiation tactic. The assembled alien dignitaries, tall, insectoid Kthari, hulking reptilian Gornaks, and the floating, jellyfish-like Ulthari, watched in fascinated horror. "Food should not be violent," rumbled Vrekk, twitching his antennae at the spicy aroma. Jonas leaned forward, grinning. "You said humans were too uncivilized for intergalactic diplomacy. That we're aggressive, unpredictable, and reckless. But we have a saying, breaking bread brings peace. And nothing brings people together like a good plate of wings." High Chancellor Zoryuke, a massive Gornak whose emerald scales glistened under the chamber's artificial light, rumbled in deep thought. "You claim this is a test of diplomacy?" Jonas nodded. "If you can handle our wings, you can handle humanity." Vrekk scoffed, clacking his mandibles. "Fine. Let this be proof of human savagery." He lifted a wing with two delicate pincers, examined it like it was a piece of alien technology, and took a bite. Silence. The room tensed. The Kthari warriors flared their spiked carapaces in anticipation. The Ulthari rippled in slow, hypnotic waves. Even Jonas held his breath. Vrekk's mandibles twitched. His exoskeleton trembled. His four eyes widened. And then, he screamed. A piercing, high-pitched screech echoed through the chamber. His entire body convulsed as he flailed, knocking over the plate. His face burned a deep, unnatural blue as he gasped for air. "Water. Get me water." Jonas barely held back a laugh. "Oh yeah, should have warned you about that. The heat kind of builds up." Vrekk shot out of his seat, screeching in his native tongue. "You poisoned me. This is war." Chancellor Zoryuke, instead of reacting with outrage, reached forward, his forked tongue flicking in curiosity. "War, you say?" He picked up a wing. Jonas felt a bead of sweat roll down his neck. Oh, this was getting interesting. Chancellor Zoryuke lifted the hot wing to his wide, reptilian mouth. The entire chamber fell into hushed silence. Vrekk was still flailing, his antennae twitching uncontrollably. His aides surrounded him, fanning him with emergency cooling devices. "You monsters! My tongue is melting," he screeched. "But Zoryuke?" He took a slow, deliberate bite. Jonas held his breath. The Gornak's thick scales and powerful digestive system made him a wild card. Would he survive the inferno? Zoryuke chewed. His slit-pupilled eyes narrowed. His nostrils flared. Then, in an almost terrifying display, his massive jaw split into a wide, toothy grin. There is pain." He took another bite, but also pleasure. The room collectively gasped. Vrekk, now guzzling an entire pitcher of water, choked. "Pleasure? Zoryuke, you mad beast. That was an assassination attempt. That sauce is forged from the pits of some human underworld." The Chancellor ignored him, savoring the wing as though it were a delicacy. "Fascinating. The heat lingers. It challenges the body. But the reward is undeniable." He cracked the bone in half and sucked the marrow. Jonas let out a slow, impressed whistle. "Not bad, Your Excellency." Vrekk, still recovering, slammed one of his four fists on the table. "I demand immediate sanctions against humanity. This so-called diplomacy is barbaric. A civilization that eats such things has no place among the stars." Jonas shrugged. And yet, Zoryuke seems to be enjoying himself. The Chancellor licked his clawed fingers, a deep chuckle rumbling in his chest. "Indeed, this is more than just food. It is a test of will, a warrior's meal." His gaze hardened. "You claim humans are reckless, Vrekk, but I see something different. They embrace challenge. They conquer even their own food. That is strength." Vrekk recoiled as if struck. "Strength? What good is strength when it is used so foolishly?" Jonas leaned forward, his smirk widening. "Oh, I don't know. Strength kind of determines who writes history, doesn't it?" The room tensed. Vrekk's mandibles clicked furiously, his face shifting from rage to something else. Calculation. Jonas could see the gears turning in his mind. The Cathari were strategists first, diplomats second. If humans were truly as reckless as he claimed, they would burn out quickly. But if they could endure? If they could survive their own madness? Before Vrekk could respond, a deep, guttural voice boomed from the chamber's entrance. I demand to try one. Heads turned. Stepping into the chamber was Supreme Warlord Vrekk of the Zorvith Dominion, a hulking, war-scarred brute feared across the galaxy. His crimson battle armor gleamed under the lights, his sharp tusks curving like blades. The warlord pointed one massive claw at Jonas. If humanity wishes to prove its strength, let me taste this buffalo blaze. Jonas exhaled. Oh boy. The room held its breath as Supreme Warlord Vrekk stomped forward. His heavy footfalls made the floor tremble. His crimson armor bore deep battle scars, each one a reminder that he had survived countless wars. Jonas sat up straighter. This guy was different. The Zorvith were not diplomats. They were conquerors. Vrekk had crushed entire civilizations with brute force. If he liked the wings, it could mean respect. If he hated them, well, Jonas really didn't want to find out. Vrekk grabbed a hot wing from the plate, lifting it up as if it were a challenge issued directly to him. His piercing yellow eyes locked onto Jonas. Is this what fuels human warriors? Jonas smirked. Oh, absolutely. Our best fighters survive on nothing but hot wings and sheer determination. The warlord grunted. Good. Weak food makes weak soldiers. Then, in one swift motion, he popped the entire wing into his mouth. A crunch. A pause. The room went dead silent. Even Vrekk, still recovering, had stopped muttering curses. Jonas watched Vrekk's face carefully. He expected a wince, a cough, maybe even a growl of discomfort. But Vrekk remained still, his expression unreadable. Then his nostrils flared, his throat convulsed. The warlord's breathing deepened. His tusks twitched, his muscles flexed as if bracing for battle. A single bead of sweat formed on his forehead. Vrekk sneered. You see? Even a warlord cannot withstand the human poison. More! Vrekk's voice boomed through the chamber. His fist slammed onto the table, shaking everything on it. Plates clattered. Dignitaries recoiled. Jonas blinked. Are you sure? Vrekk's eyes burned with something primal. This is not just heat. This is fury. This is combat in edible form. He grabbed another wing. This is the taste of warriors. He devoured it. And then another. And another. The chamber was in shock. Jonas could barely believe what he was seeing. The most feared warlord in the galaxy was addicted. Chancellor Zoryuke let out a deep chuckle. It seems humanity has created a new battlefield. Vrekk, still horrified, threw his hands in the air. This is insanity. You fools are celebrating suffering. Jonas grinned. Nah, we're celebrating survival. Big difference. But before Vrekk could respond, Vrekk suddenly grabbed Jonas's arm in a crushing grip. The human barely stopped himself from yelping. Captain Reeves, Vrekk growled, his yellow eyes gleaming. Your people are worthy warriors. I would fight beside you on any battlefield. Jonas exhaled, his bones slightly aching from the warlord's grip. I appreciate that, big guy. Vrekk leaned in closer. But I would also fight against you. I wish to test humanity in true combat. The words sent a ripple of tension through the chamber. Jonas's smirk faltered. Wait, hold on, what? Vrekk rose to his full height, his voice booming. I challenge humanity to the warrior's gauntlet. We will see if your fire burns on the battlefield as it does on the tongue. Jonas stared. Oh crap. The room erupted into chaos. Vrekk leaped from his seat, his mandibles clicking furiously. You see? This is what I warned about. Humanity doesn't foster peace. They incite war. Chancellor Zoryuke, still calmly licking his fingers free of sauce, glanced at the warlord. Vrekk, you propose an official warrior's gauntlet? Vrekk pounded his chest, his deep voice like a thunderclap. Yes, a test of combat. The strong thrive, the weak perish. That is the way of the Zorvith. His sharp tusks gleamed as he grinned at Jonas. Your food has proven your fire. Now I wish to see if it extends to battle. Jonas's heart pounded, but outwardly, he kept his usual smirk. Now, I'm all for a friendly spar, but let's clarify here. You're not talking about an all-out war, right? Vrekk let out a guttural laugh. No, human. A duel. One of your warriors against one of mine. To yield or to victory. Jonas exhaled. That was slightly better. Still bad. But at least Earth wasn't about to get glassed over a plate of wings. Vrekk pointed an accusatory claw at Jonas. You cannot accept this. It will set a precedent that humans solve disputes with violence. Jonas turned to him, still smiling, but his voice carried an edge. That's funny, coming from the species that tried assassinating a rival council member last month. Vrekk stiffened, his antennae twitching. That was a necessary strategic maneuver. Jonas's smirk widened. Yeah, so's this. Vrekk folded his arms. Do you accept, Captain? Jonas hesitated. He wasn't a soldier. He was a diplomat. But the truth was, this wasn't just about him. If he refused, humanity would look weak. If he accepted, Earth would gain either respect or an enemy. Before he could respond, a new voice cut through the tension. I will fight. Jonas turned in shock. A tall woman in an Earth military uniform stepped forward from the shadows of the chamber. Her sharp blue eyes were locked onto Vrekk's, her stance as solid as steel. A single scar ran from her temple to her cheek, a mark of past battles. Jonas's stomach flipped. Oh hell. Commander Alyssa Vance. Special Forces. One of Earth's deadliest hand-to-hand combatants. And, unfortunately, a known adrenaline junkie. She cracked her knuckles. You want to test humanity? Fine. Let's dance, big guy. Vrekk's grin widened into something terrifying. Excellent. The challenge was set. The arena aboard Vezok Prime was unlike anything Jonas had ever seen. An enormous, circular chamber lined with energy barriers, its walls etched with battle scars from previous duels. Thousands of alien dignitaries and warriors gathered in the stands, their voices a cacophony of excitement, wagers, and hushed speculation. At the center, Commander Alyssa Vance stood with her arms crossed, completely unfazed. Opposite her, Supreme Warlord Vrekk rolled his shoulders, his massive frame casting a shadow over the battlefield. His crimson armor clanked as he flexed his claws. Jonas stood in the VIP box alongside Zoryuke and a still furious Vrekk. He exhaled, rubbing his temples. This is insane. Zoryuke let out a deep chuckle. No, Captain. This is diplomacy at its purest. Vrekk, diplomacy is not supposed to involve bloodshed. Jonas shot him a smirk. You ever read human history? A booming voice echoed through the arena as the referee, a towering, multi-limbed Gorgash warrior, raised his forearms. Combatants, the duel will continue until one of you yields, or is unable to fight. No weapons. No killing. Begin. A chime rang, and Vrekk charged. He moved like a tank, his speed unnatural for his size. His clawed hand swung like a wrecking ball, aiming to end the fight in a single blow. But Alyssa was already gone. She ducked, the claw slicing through empty air. Pivoting on her heel, she drove her fist into Vrekk's ribs. A solid hit, except it was like punching a starship hull. Vrekk barely flinched. Alyssa jumped back just in time to avoid his counterattack. A brutal backhand that cracked the stone where she had been standing. The crowd roared. Jonas gritted his teeth. Come on, Vance, don't try to trade blows with him. You know better. Alyssa wiped sweat from her brow, smirking. All right, big guy. You hit hard. She cracked her neck. Let's see how you handle speed. And then she moved, faster than any human should. A blur of motion, weaving between Vrekk's powerful swings, ducking, dodging, striking with precision. A jab to the throat, a kick behind the knee, an elbow to the temple. Vrekk stumbled. For the first time, the warlord's expression shifted, from amusement to genuine focus. Jonas grinned. Oh yeah, now we're talking. Vrekk let out a thunderous laugh. Yes, show me your fire. He lunged again, but Alyssa saw it, his weight shifting too far forward. She sidestepped and delivered a brutal spinning kick to the back of his knee. The warlord buckled, his balance momentarily lost. The crowd exploded in shock. Vrekk clutched his head. Impossible. Jonas leaned forward, heart pounding, She can win this. But Vrekk wasn't done. He slammed a fist into the ground, pushing himself up, his tusks bared. You fight well, human. Then his muscles tensed, and Jonas realized too late. He'd been holding back. With a speed that defied his size, Vrekk lunged. Alyssa's eyes widened. She tried to evade, but this time, Vrekk anticipated her movement. His massive arm caught her midair, slamming her down onto the stone floor with a seismic boom. The crowd gasped. Jonas's stomach dropped. Vance! She coughed, struggling to rise. Blood trickled from her lip. One of her ribs was probably cracked. Vrekk loomed over her, eyes burning. Yield, human. You have earned my respect. Alyssa spat blood onto the ground. Not yet. And then, with every ounce of willpower, she flipped up to her feet. The crowd went berserk. Vrekk blinked. Then, slowly, his tusked mouth curled into a grin. Yeah, you humans truly are insane. The entire arena was on its feet. The roar of thousands of alien spectators vibrated through the chamber, their excitement at a fever pitch. Jonas gripped the railing of the VIP box, his knuckles white. Alyssa was still standing, barely. Vrekk, though impressed, was still an unstoppable wall of muscle and fury. She had one shot. Vrekk cracked his neck, rolling his shoulders. You refuse to yield. I admire that, but your body is failing you. Alyssa smirked through the pain. Yeah? Well, humans have a trick. She raised a fist, shifting her stance. We don't go down easy. The warlord's grin widened. Then let us end this with honor. He charged, his final attack, a monstrous swing meant to finish the fight. Jonas's heart pounded. Move, Vance. At the very last second, Alyssa twisted her body, dropping low. Vrekk's massive fist sailed over her head. She planted her hands on the ground and kicked upward with all her strength, right into Vrekk's exposed throat. The impact sent a shockwave through the air. Vrekk's eyes widened. He staggered, coughing, his powerful stance crumbling. The crowd froze. Jonas's breath caught. Did she just? Alyssa didn't hesitate. She jumped onto his shoulders, wrapped her arm around his massive neck, and squeezed. A chokehold. A perfect, brutal submission hold. Vrekk stumbled. His clawed hands grabbed at her, trying to pry her off, but she held on, her grip an iron vice. The warlord dropped to one knee. His vision blurred. His movements slowed. His breathing hitched. And then, he slammed his fist on the ground. The universal signal for surrender. The arena exploded. The referee's voice boomed over the chaos. The human is victorious. Jonas let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Holy shit, she actually did it. Alyssa released Vrekk, staggering back, barely able to stand. The warlord coughed, rubbing his throat before turning his gaze toward her. And then, he laughed. A deep, rumbling sound that shook the walls. Magnificent, Vrekk bellowed, rising to his feet. He grabbed Alyssa's wrist and raised it high. Humanity has earned the respect of the Zorvith Dominion. Jonas smirked. Well, that's one way to make allies. Vrekk, still shell-shocked, muttered, You people are maniacs. Alyssa, breathing heavily, wiped blood from her mouth. So, we good? Vrekk nodded. More than good. Your people will stand among the greatest warriors of the galaxy. And he glanced toward Jonas with a tusked grin. I require more of these hot wings. Jonas laughed. Oh, buddy, I'll get you a whole damn truckload. And just like that, humanity had not only secured its place in the Galactic Council, but had earned the respect of warlords. All thanks to spicy hot wings.